Hello, I'm Brett, and I'm here with Sandy. How are you, Sandy?
Very good. Thanks, Brett. How are you?
Yeah, good. I guess first of all, the weather update. So, as of yesterday we were around about 15 degrees Celsius, and everybody was putting their central heating on and so on. But we're now going into a heat wave here in England. So
Okay.
there we go.
All right.
Just typical British weather.
Yeah, and we're hot and have thunderstorms every afternoon, so also typical Florida weather.
Yeah, yeah,
And keeping an eye on disturbances in the Atlantic Ocean and making sure none are headed our way.
absolutely. Sounds good.
Mm.
So we've in September we've got the forms month
Mhm.
to talk about, and there's lots going on with forms
Mm.
currently. But there's also lots going on with events and so on as well. So yeah, Lightning Tools. Quite a few of us are on the board with the ECS events,
Mm.
which covers the European Collaboration Summit, European Cloud and AI Summit, and also the new BizApp
Um,
Summit, which are all
mm.
taking place, yeah, at the same time, at the same place, but three separate events. And call for speakers is
In
open.
May of
Yeah,
next year. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's May 26th to the 28th,
Mm.
thereabouts in Düsseldorf. And yeah, the call for speakers has opened,
Yep.
and we've also got the tutorials announced. So there's
Mhm.
full day workshops on the first day, which have gone live. So um, that's all fantastic. If you don't follow those accounts on social media, make sure you do. You'll be able to find them. And a sister sort of company to that is the Collab Days, which is kind of like the old SharePoint Saturday that
Mhm.
we used to do back in the day, and we organised one here in the UK, and it's held at Bletchley Park. We've spoken about it before, but for anybody that's new to this, so yeah, on the 25th of September, we are going to be at the National Museum of Computing on Bletchley Park. And it's a unique setting to go and attend some sessions and learn about Microsoft 365, including Power Platform, SharePoint, Viva, uh, Copilot, etc. And yeah, whilst you're learning, you can also wander the museum and see some of the 40s code-breaking machines like
Mhm.
Colossus and the
Mhm.
Bomb by Alan Turing and so on, and work all your way up to the 80s computers like the BBC classrooms that we used to have over here in the UK. So that's all busy as well. And
Mm.
if you want to know more
Yeah, I
about that,
can't.
yeah, I know you're coming across, right,
Yeah,
Sandy?
yeah, I
So.
can't wait. Yeah, it's the first time I'm going to get to see that venue, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, yeah, it really is pretty cool.
Mm.
So yeah, on the 25th of September, we'll be doing that. You can find out more on collabdays.org. If you can't make that one, just the week before is Collab Days in Portugal. So
Mhm.
that's in Porto in Portugal. And there's also a few more. There's one in New England, in
Mhm.
fact, as well, that is taking place in September. So and also in South Africa too.
Mm.
So yeah, make sure that you take a look at collabdays.org because there's lots going on there, lots of free learning
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
take advantage of. So on to forms.
Yep.
I know you've got a lot to say about Lightning Forms itself, the form design tool for Microsoft SharePoint lists, and the direction that we're heading. But there's also been some advancements in the migration of those forms as well. So we partner with a company called Kudzu, and Kudzu developed a solution a few years back now that helps you to migrate from InfoPath forms over to whatever destination. The destination could be Power Apps. The destination could also be Lightning Forms. It could be Nintex. There's yeah, quite a few different solutions that you can migrate an InfoPath form to. And of course, they've been evolving that, recognizing that people don't just have InfoPath forms; they also have like PDF forms, which are a real pain to fill out.
Mhm.
Also, Word forms, Excel forms, even like a scanned
Right.
image of a form, whatever it might be. You can take all of those and you can migrate them across to yeah, something like Lightning Forms or Power Apps, like I mentioned. Um, there was a challenge with it, and that challenge was that you it can also process the data, and
Mhm.
so anything that you had completed inside of the info path form or whatever, maybe stored inside a form library in SharePoint on-prem or SharePoint Online. And in order to get that data across, of course, you could still use the Kudzu migrator to do that, but it would be processing that data within Kudzu's Azure tenant. So this has really been the sort of revolutionary piece. Is now it's available as a desktop application. We'll be showing that in our webinar this month. So that means that you can install it on any workstation or server on your network, and it can migrate the form design. It can also migrate the form data, and nothing leaves your network.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a huge advantage.
Mm.
There is a trial of it as well, which you'll be able to get your hands on later on this month. And not only will it allow you to trial migrating a form design, but it will also allow you to explore what InfoPath forms you have inside your environment. So it's going to go through and find those, and it will score them in terms of complexity. So if they're nice, simple forms with no rules or anything like that, that's obviously going to be a very easy form to migrate across. But if the more complex they are, of course, the more challenging it is for the migrator to do that. So it will score them appropriately, and it will tell you roughly what you still need to do in terms of time. So if there's maybe some VB code you had in the back end of one of your InfoPath forms and that can't be migrated, then you may, if you're using Power Apps or if you're using Lightning Forms, you may have to recreate that part of it. But still, most of the work is going to be done for you. Maybe 98% of the work will be done, and you've just got that last little bit to do manually. So that's going to be available as a desktop application, and it will give you the return on investment as well.
Okay, so I was going to ask,
right,
so that like based on the amount of time you would save by trying to do that by hand versus using the migration tool, right?
Exactly. In terms of complexity, yes. So if you had 200 InfoPath forms, it may say, well, this is going to take you 3 months of development time to migrate all of those forms, and yeah, of course, that would depend on how many developers are working on it, but it'll give you that time in hours. And then, of course, you can calculate, well, what's the hourly rate of the consultant or whoever that's going to be doing that versus yeah, the cost of Kudzu and the time taken then to do the migration. So and it's not just those complex pieces either. I mean, some of it is mind-numbingly boring. I've done this
right.
for
Creating
some
lists
clients.
and things.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like there's a form that's got like 200 fields in it or something. So I've got to then go and create the lists, and then I've got to go and create every single column in that list. And then you get to position them on the form and so on. That alone, that's for Kudzu, that's the easy part. We just
Right.
go through and generate all of that. So yeah, it's a huge time saver even for the simple forms. So yeah, that would be great to see. So we'll be showing that on the 19th of September. There's also, we have list actions and lightning forms, and I'm going to pass over to you, Sandy, to talk about those ones. So.
All right, great. Yeah, so we've got some updates coming as we usually do on our Forms month. So Lightning Forms is the Lightning Tools tool that lets you customize SharePoint list forms. And so the migrator, the Kudzu desktop migrator that Brett just talked about, will let you migrate into Lightning Forms specifically. That's going to be our version of that desktop tool. And so with Lightning Forms, what's new in Lightning Forms coming, I would say there are some cool updates that are kind of minor, but like there's addition of some controls, like there's a divider and a spacer. People have asked for that sometimes where they want to be able to create visual sections in their forms. And so you'll be able to do that. There's a new metadata term control, so it makes it easier to select your terms. I think it expands and collapses, things like that. And a new editor for the rich text editing that is going to give you more capabilities there too. But the control that I'm especially excited about is the process steps control. And that's going to let you put a control, usually it's at the top of your form, where you're showing where something is in a process. So if you're familiar with the model-driven apps, for example, and Power Apps in Dynamics, that does that kind of automatically. And in Lightning Forms, once you add that control, you can make all of that dynamic. So it can be based on, for example, maybe you have a status field in your list, and based on whatever status the project is in, or that item is in, it'll show that along your timeline. And you have three different ways of displaying that. So one is sort of like arrows, one is like little bubbles, and you can determine like what's going to display. Do you want it to be numbers or icons, or it can vary. So, if something has stalled out, like you've got a pending or something, you can make that a different color and decide, what text fields to display under the description. So really, really powerful control, I think, for visualizing where something is. I think we've had a fair number of requests for something like that, but it hasn't really been possible in the past without creating like multiple rich text fields that get colored or something like that. But here you'll be able to, add as many steps as you want, and it's super flexible and dynamic. That's the thing I like the most about it. It's not
Cool.
just something that you put on your form and it looks the same every time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know there's some minor improvements as well,
Mhm.
but I mean, we say minor, they're really nice things to have.
Right, right, right.
Um, so yeah, do you want to throw some of those out there too?
Well, I was just mentioning about those couple other controls
Hmm.
and the different rich text editor, and I think those are the main other things that I can think
Yeah,
of.
yeah, and yeah, just yeah, like the dividers and so on as well.
Right,
Just going
right.
to add
I
so much
mentioned.
to the
Yeah.
formal experience. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, so yeah, some nice major things as well as
mhm,
the minor things, but
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
great solution. And then
Yep.
I don't think there's too much, as you mentioned, that would really affect the list actions in terms of
Mhm.
improvements. But for
Yeah,
those that
like
don't know
last
what list
time,
actions is. Mhm.
yeah. So list actions lets you create custom actions that'll appear on the command bar of your list, and that can be things that will appear for the whole list, or just if you've selected one or more items, then the list action will appear.
Mhm.
Um, and you can conditionally make that visible or not too. So it could only appear to certain people, which is pretty cool. So things like that are things that you can't do with Power Automate. You can
Mhm.
add a Power Automate, for a selected item, but you can't add a Power Automate automation that runs on the whole list or on multiple items. You can't make that conditionally visible. So there's some definite advantages there. And in our last release, we had added and this is relevant to both list actions and the actions within Lightning Forms, to be able to create not only a Word document using our add-on document generator, but also being able to create a PDF, which was something that had been asked for a good bit. So those features have been added to the document generator add-on, and you
Mhm.
can purchase that with either Lightning Forms or list actions, or you can get all three as
With the
a
suite,
bundle
yeah.
for a discount.
Mhm.
Yeah, for the Forms Designer Suite. Yep.
Which just offers fantastic value for money. I think if you're
Hmm,
going to be
hmm,
building, some of these, and yeah, of course, you might be looking at Power Apps as well as an alternative, and seeing what you can do there. But I think when you start looking at Power Apps and Power Automate, it seems reasonable at first until you start to do some of these things that require
mm.
licensing and so on. Then it
Mhm,
becomes
mm,
yeah pretty expensive. But
mm. And that
um,
require actual code too. With Lightning Forms and list actions, there's so much you can do without needing to know any sort of code of any kind. I mean, you can
yeah.
extend it and add any kind of code, which actually
Hmm.
I would say it's even more extensible in that regard than Power Apps is,
Yeah.
because in Lightning Forms you can add any kind of JavaScript code basically.
Mm.
And so we've got some customers who really get into a lot of complex scenarios by doing that. So you can do that, but you don't have to.
Yep, yep. Fantastic. And I think so something that's a really important piece here is where the data is stored and where the data is processed as well. Yeah, and the fact that it is a contextual design tool, as you mentioned, you're not going into a separate application like you do
Right.
with Power Apps. It's you're there embedded into SharePoint through the SharePoint framework application, and you create your form. The form design is kept inside your environment. The data is processed inside your environment, and it's stored inside the lists inside your
Right.
environment. So yeah, we frequently get asked the questions, of course, where does that data reside? What's our data center like, etc. But it's all inside your tenant. And of course, you've got to have MFA now. But equally, your SharePoint site that contains those lists is going to be permissioned to certain people. So they're the only people that be able to access that content as well. Which, yeah, in terms of like the Copilot rollouts and so on, that's also critical to make sure that the right people have permissions to those sites and to those lists.
See our last webinar.
Yeah, but I've got a lot to say on this one. On the contextual piece, yeah, Lightning Forms, as we just said, it's a contextual design experience. There is one challenge with that, or maybe two challenges with that. One is, yeah, you're basically working in production to build the design of your form, which you are working live all the time with Lightning Forms. You save your changes, and it's got ALM and so on in there, so you can always revert back, and you can reset to the original form and so on. So there's some nice safety nets, but you're not working offline in a way where you can then just publish it when it's all ready and tested and so on. And with the list actions that you mentioned, and also form actions inside of Lightning Forms, these are manually triggered. So you have to click a button. So that might be a button on the command bar inside the list in order to fire off an approval workflow or something like that. Or likewise with inside the form itself, maybe you've created yourself a submit button. These have to be pushed by someone. Whereas what you have with Power Automate is, of course, the ability to schedule some of these tasks and so on. So there's
trigger
advantages
them based on some event too.
Exactly. So for that reason, we're actually introducing a new tool that is going to be another option. You might be fine with using Lightning Forms and list actions and the document generator as they are working in real time inside your environment in that contextual design experience. But if you're after something that is like a studio where you can design your forms and create workflows and etc., and then push it out and also have the ability to schedule those, we are introducing Lightning Tools Form and Solution Studio. Form and Automation Studio. It is a mouthful. Form and Automation Studio. So yeah, that's going to be pushed out as well this month. So you'll also be able to use that and get a richer experience as you're building your solutions for SharePoint.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That comes up a fair bit that people ask if they can, especially they want to be able to trigger those actions that they've built, because the action builder in list actions and Lightning Forms is super easy to use. I find that it has a lot of features that I kind of wish Power Automate had, for example, but people want to be able to, if an item changes or something like that, that I want to start off this sequence of actions. And right now you can't do that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
in the Automation Studio, you'll be able to.
Exactly. Yeah, so fantastic. There's a lot to see. I don't know how we're going to cram that into a 1-hour webinar, but we'll do our best. But yeah.
Well, people can always request a private demo too, so if you see something you like in the webinar and you want to learn more about it, then you can get a demo specific to your needs.
Exactly. Yeah. And you'll see that on our website too. So fantastic. So once again, that's going to be on the 19th of September. It's 3 p.m. UK time. So we're still in British summertime. And so there's a 5-hour time difference between Eastern United States and 8 hours with the Pacific Coast and so on. So yeah, if you can make it, that'd be great. If you want to register, even if you can't make it live or you don't think you may not be able to make it live, just register and we'll make sure that you get the recording as well.
Yep. Awesome.
Yep, fantastic. All right, well, thank you so much, Sandy, and
Okay,
look forward
thanks you.
to speaking to you next time.
Alrighty, see ya. Bye.
Bye for now.